Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Uh, I've been better.
Okay, well, what's going on?
Well, I know I've been pretty stressed here lately. I feel like everything's kind of piling up on me, with responsibilities and, trying to get my family to work together, and it's not really working as I envisioned. And um like with my medication, I feel like I've kind of plateaued as far as my antidepressant. So it's not really pulling its full potential anymore. So I've been, I guess, more prone to my depressive feelings. And it's really been getting to me recently, with, trying to balance my responsibilities and budgeting and getting the kids here to there and then not feeling appreciated. I just sometimes feel like they would be better off without me.
Okay, well, when you say things like better off without me, of course, we in our sessions have talked about some past risk factors, and I just want to make sure that we're not actively planning anything or that there's no current danger. I do want you to keep in mind our confidentiality agreement, which we keep our sessions confidential, but
Mhm.
if somebody is at risk, we have to make sure that the proper people are informed just to make sure everybody's safe. So, I want you to keep that in mind, but like normal, I always appreciate your honesty. You're always straightforward with me. So, just let's keep that rolling. But uh my concern though, um, when you say that, I have have you had any thoughts or considerations of trying to hurt yourself or even take your own life?
Uh, I have in the past, a couple of times. Um, I mean, at one point, like before I was medicated, I feel like it was one of my times because, like, I go on a medication and then it gets where it's not working anymore. Or I just get tired of, trying to find one because then it's like, feeling like I'm a guinea pig and nothing really works. And then there's the terrible side effects. And I feel like I'm losing it, from the side effects because some were really bad. So during a period when I wasn't on my medication, it got really bad. And like, I broke down at work because like I was so close, and then I got sent home. But there have been a few other times. Um, we had a loss in the family and I was under close doctor supervision, so they were monitoring my medication, so they wouldn't give me anything that would, if I took it all, it wouldn't be a lethal dose.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'd say probably there's been 3 or 4 times that I could pinpoint in my life to where it's gotten pretty bad.
Okay. Have there been any more recent times, say within the last month or so, that you've had those thoughts or feelings?
Um, I'd say yes. Like I said, with all of the stress, it's like, I don't know, it's like if you're not here, you're not stressed out about it. If you're not here, you don't have to worry and try to, appease everybody. You're not being appreciated. You don't have to deal with all the drama of who's saying what about who in your friends group or whatever, you know.
Sure.
So it's like I know it probably seems terrible, but I mean, when you're thinking about it, it's just I don't know, seems more peaceful, I suppose.
Now, when you say it's more peaceful, do you mean what do you mean by that?
I mean, as far as like not being here, you know, because like when you're actively thinking about everything, you have, you know, worry, anxiety, pressure. Then you get sick because you're panicking or just everything rolled up into one. And then you're sick for days on end because you're so anxious, you know. And I just feel like if I'm gone, I don't feel anything. I don't know anything. I'm not, you know, there's nothing to worry about. It's just nothingness.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Well, when we talk about not being here anymore, have you actually had a plan of how you would take your life, how that would happen?
Mostly, I feel like I would probably go like the medication route, you know, just get all the medication that I have and just take it all.
Okay. Okay. So, and has that been a recent thought, or has that been in the past that you thought that that would be how you would do that, or
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent during all of my thoughts except for one, and that's just because I was at work and I work in a deli around lots of sharp objects. So yeah, that was the only time that it wasn't like medication related.
gotcha.
So
Okay. Well, like I said, I appreciate your honesty. Have um have you in the last, let's say, 2 weeks had any intention of following through with that plan with the medication?
I mean, I can think that I have, but I haven't like really laid out per se, like, okay, you know, I haven't set a date, a time, you know, or made arrangements for anything. It's just kind of like an idea of like I could just do this and then everything would be taken care of, you know.
Okay. So no real active planning to do so, just mainly the thoughts that are there.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, well, let's talk a little bit more. I know that we do have a history of struggling with depression and anxiety. So that's a definite, risk factor. And you've shared a little bit of history as well with me in past sessions, but do you have any kind of history in your family or witnessed anything as far as um, people dying of suicide in your family or in your past? Has that been something that you've dealt with?
Um, yeah, well, it started kind of like before I even existed. So, because my grandmother, her parents weren't, I'm not really sure the full story on what happened, but my great grandfather took his life. And I had a cousin who was having some issues. I think it was my second cousin, and he took his life. So, there's just, you know, a lot of history of like mental illness through some of my family members.
Sorry to hear that. Even if you didn't know him or didn't know him well, that's still a connection that you have to somebody that has lost their life in that way. So that's definitely um a concern. Um, I know too, we have talked a little bit about your childhood and some struggles that we've had. I was going to say that too could be a contributing concern here. Now, that all being said, I want to work with you too as far as some protective factors too, because I know that there have been things that have kept us here, that have kept us going, and I kind of want to bring those to the surface and kind of go through those. What would you say is something that has kept you going, that has uh, kept that voice at bay and not actively, trying to hurt yourself or take your own life?
Um, First and foremost, I really want to say my kids because I couldn't imagine what their life would be like without me. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, they have other family members and their father and other caregivers that could, take a motherly role. But it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's a unique relationship and what their
Absolutely.
lives would look like without me, as far as having that person to turn to. And, with the history of mental illness, that's just going to be one more risk factor to have a parent, to do something like that, especially with having so many people in the house. It, I don't think would fare well for them for their
And
futures.
absolutely. And nobody can replace mom. So, people can fill a role, but you being there for them is an irreplaceable, you know, factor. So absolutely. And of course, I know too that in past, discussions we've had that, you are actively on medication. Is that still correct?
Yes.
And I know that you had said we struggle sometimes with it kind of plateauing and not working as well. Have you been in contact or kept contact with your medication provider, your doctor?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal, good deal. And have they made any adjustments for you or
Um, they try to. They pretty much have gotten me on the max dose that they can't do anything else, But then whenever we go into adding things, then we have to start back over with the side effects and things like that. So we try to manage it the best we can. But, when you're out in public or like at a job or something, if there's a crazy side effect, because I've had like restless leg syndrome and like shaking or twitching. I just feel like it's really awkward doing things like that, because people don't really know. And I feel like it's kind of inappropriate to talk about it. So,
I mean, that's fair. That is fair. Of course, I know we don't want to harp on the medication, but fortunately, we have the people, the doctors that can prescribe it, and you know, it's just making sure we do inform them of those side effects if we can do anything to ward them off. So I'm glad you're keeping up with your doctor and taking it properly. And of course, I know too that we have ongoing sessions. So that's another, positive factor. So I'm glad that you've stayed consistent with that, so just knowing the factors that do help is big. So I'm glad we could discuss those too. So, um, I will pause the session here and we will just right quick go over Miss Amanda's risk factors and her protective factors. Um, her risk factors were, of course, access to the medication. We also had um, her past mentions of childhood trauma and struggles. I actually mentioned that as the ongoing worker. We also mentioned struggles with past mental health and suicidal ideations, as well as a family history of struggle with suicidal ideations and unfortunately losing family members to suicide. Um, as far as protective factors go, we have the major one of she's got her children and her family to that she has a strong bond with. So the family connection, being there for her kids and being mom for her kiddos. Two, she does have the ongoing sessions as far as therapy goes, um, staying consistent with that. And then the third big one is consistency with medication management. She does well with that. And we also noted that there was no means like sharp objects, stuff like that, as far as the at work concerns go, like she had mentioned in the past. So that was another protective factor. While I forgot to ask about firearm safety, we did mention in previous sessions that she does have firearms. However, her protective factor is that, they are locked away and her husband and adult kiddos can monitor where they are and, if there's access. So we have several protective factors in place for the risk factors too. And we could do a successful safety planning with this moving forward. So, all right. Thank y'all.